Hello, and thank you for joining us. I'm Fran Jansen with the Arkansas State Treasurer's Office, and on behalf of the Arkansas Financial Education Commission and the Central Arkansas Library System, I'd like to welcome you to our Financial Wellness webinar. The session you're about to watch is called How to Save 10 into Retirement and will be presented by Sarah Catherine Gutierrez, who is the CEO and founder of Aptus Financial. Now, a little bit more about Sarah Catherine before I hand it over to her. In addition to heading up Aptus Financial, she is also a very well-known and well-respected writer, speaker, and blogger. And she's very passionate about demystifying finances, as you're about to see. She's been featured in Time, Forbes, and Business Investing magazine. And her very first book was just launched in 2020, and it's called, But First, Save 10. Sarah Catherine and her husband live in Little Rock, where they're raising their 3 young children. A reminder that this session is recorded, obviously, and it will be available for watching again on both the Central Arkansas Library System's YouTube channel as well as the Arkansas Financial Education Commission website. So with that, I am very pleased to introduce Sarah Catherine Gutierrez.
Hi, my name is Sarah Catherine Gutierrez, and I am here with the Women's Foundation of Arkansas and sponsored by the Department of Education to bring you a simple message, and that is one called Save 10. Now, as you'll see from this slide, we want you to save 10% for life and retirement. I know that there are so many things that we have to balance when it comes to our personal finances. And I get it, there are lots of important things, but there is nothing more important than remembering to save 10% starting in your 20s and saving it for life, because we know statistically that you'll be able to retire, to stop working on your own terms one day if you do that. Now, I promise I have seen so many things that can drive people to say, you know what? Yes, I want to do that. And I'm going to bring a couple of quotes from folks who have approached me after giving a presentation similar to this that essentially provided people's why. Like, why am I doing this? And so here is one of the quotes. Growing up, I've witnessed my mother struggle to know how to manage her own finances, especially since she has always depended on my father to take care of things. We see this time and time again, especially with women, is that somehow we don't take on a leadership role in our finances. And so naturally, if one person is going to take it in a household, we see a lot of time it is, men in our lives who are the ones who take that on. And there's nothing wrong with that necessarily, but what we find is that not only are women not typically taking on this leadership role, we don't even know what is going on in our finances. So we might spend a lifetime trusting a spouse to be doing this for us, only to find out at the very end that there isn't the money, there isn't the savings that we kind of assumed would be happening. So here is another big headwind that a lot of people believe is a big reason that it's difficult to save. And that is that there is a culture of spending. So if you think about social media, you can post any of these pictures on social media. You can post a picture of any luxury item. And not only is that not taboo, people will get very excited for you. And in some ways, this is how people are able to articulate, I am successful. I am successful because, of course, I have to be successful if I'm carrying this really nice Chanel handbag, if I take this fancy vacation, if I live in this house or drive this certain car. Somehow we have decided as a society that our level of success, or that really nice things, nice vacations, are a proxy for our success. And so that is why a lot of people fall into this trap, is that we are allowed to post these things and we have decided that this is how we're going to show how successful we are. But what's wild is that we cannot post, hey, here is how much my retirement plan is. Here's my actual success and shown by savings. We can't do that. And so this is another major headwind. And so we're not just sitting here saying, hey, buck all these crazy trends, because we understand we live in the same world. We know how uncomfortable it is. And so what we are hoping is by starting this Save10 identity, you can wear this just as proudly as you wear anything. And so we already have 1,100 people who have taken the Save10 commitment that I'm going to get to in a second. And this is essentially our way of being able to wear savings in the same way we can wear a nice, a nice outfit, carry a Chanel handbag. This is our version. Instead of conspicuous consumption, it's conspicuous saving. Okay, so now let's get into the nitty-gritty. Where do people go wrong? I don't think that anybody in here would disagree with this notion that we should save. It's not like I'm going around and saying, you should save money, and people say, oh my God, that's never occurred to me. No one would disagree with the very premise of saving. But what happens is we assume that saving is going to happen naturally, as if it's like, well, I'm going to get this paycheck of $40,000 a year, and there's no way I can possibly spend all that, and whatever is left over, I'll save. Or I have a naturally fixed lifestyle, and as long as my paycheck is bigger than that lifestyle, then I will naturally save. Both things are false, and they're false because there is no fixed lifestyle, and they're false because our brains will always prevent us from naturally saving, and that is because of a phenomenon called adaptation level phenomenon, which means that our brains will naturally adapt to whatever we make. So we can make $40,000 a year, we can make $400,000 a year, and if we don't have a system in place, then we're going to end up naturally adapting as money comes into the funnel. We're going to spend it all, and then we're going to adapt on a month-to-month basis. But then once something big hits, like new tires or fixing the roof, if we own our own home and we don't have savings for it, we're just going to end up in debt because we're not going to have the money to pay for that. Okay, so then let's talk about debt. How big of a deal is debt? Well, it is a pretty big deal. So over 40% of households carry it. And we know that is actually growing by as much to 60% now that we're starting to see it as we're seeing inflation and lots of its impacts hitting us. And this is kind of an old slide, but it's actually worse than this now because the average credit card balance when we originally created these slides was over $6,000. That was with an APR of 17%. We know they're much higher as interest rates go up, but it's just amazing to see that that's $1,000 a year of just not improving us, not adding to our lives, literally going into the pockets of a credit card company. So this is the ask. It's so simple. I wrote a whole book on this, but what's funny is the whole book is in the title. And this is this idea that we can fix all of this in one simple move. And that is to pay yourself first. That is to pay yourself first. Now, a lot of people say, I've known to save, but no one's ever told me how much. So people will be in companies working their whole lives, and they might be maxing out the savings match of 5%. So the company says you put in 5%, and then we'll match that up to 5%. So people think that 5% is how much to save. So what we are being very clear is we want you to save 10% into your company retirement plan. And that's it. Now, let's get with why this is important to start it in your 20s. So here is a chart of someone who is 25 years old, making $40,000 a year and saving 10%. And you can see that if they do this, by the time they're 65, they'll have a balance of $951,000 with a pretty modest assumption for investment growth on their money. Look at what happens if they wait 10 years to when they're 35 years old. With a little inflation, now they're making $48,000 a year. But look what happens. $551,000. So if you recall, if they had started 10 years earlier, they would have $950,000. Saving the same percentage, 10%, just doesn't cut it. So the real rallying cry here is start in your 20s. Now, I didn't start in my 20s, right? I didn't start when I was right out of college. And I kick myself all the time because I now know the numbers. I know what it means to start early, because it's not about how much you save. That's not the whole story. It's when you start, because of compound interest. And so what I want you to understand is that even if you didn't get this message in your early 20s, let's say you're in your mid-30s looking at this, you might not be able to get away with just saving 10%. Maybe it needs to be more like 15%. But it's better to do it in your mid-30s than in your mid-40s. But folks in your mid-40s, you can say the same thing. It's better to start now than wait later. Maybe you need to save more like 25%. Or folks in your 50s, again, you still can save. And the one thing you have that someone in their early 20s doesn't have is you can actually imagine wanting to retire. You can actually imagine wanting to be able to stop working on your own terms, but you might have to have a 30 to 35 or even 40% savings rate if you're in your later 50s. This is what we're asking you to do. Now, on this next slide, I want you to understand exactly what we're doing here. We are simply telling you to get the money out first and then spend the rest. We want you to reverse the funnel. And it's wild. A lot of people think like, no. Saving and budgeting is supposed to be hard. You're supposed to feel deprived. You're supposed to feel like it takes a lot of effort. It's supposed to be something where you have to set up complicated accounts. Like there's no way that saving is easy, because we've been conditioned to believe that saving is supposed to be something really hard. And I get it. I used to think that as well. But it's wild after doing this for years and years and years and seeing people who have never saved in their lives, who don't have an identity as a saver. They can literally write that number down in their retirement account. 10%, 15%, 20%, whatever it needs to be for you to be able to stop working one day on your own terms. And it's so wild. You adapt to it. I have people who come to me who tell me they aren't savers, yet they're saving 10% in their retirement plans. And I just don't get it. And I think it's because they don't feel like it's hard. It's supposed to feel hard and arduous. Or people who have pensions, who work for the state government and have APRS or ATRS. They'll come to me and say, I'm just so bad with money. What? You're not bad with money. You've got 5% or 7% going in every single month from your paycheck. I don't get it. Yes, you are. You are a saver. So I not only want you to pay yourself first, but I want you to pat yourself on the back and say, yeah, I am a saver. I can do this. Because what's cool, if you can do that, if you can identify with as a saver, then there are all those other financial things that you can be doing after this. No, they're not as important, but they are still pretty important. And then adopting the identity as a saver, you'll start taking on those things as well. It is this idea of momentum with your finances. So go be a financial victor here. Go pay yourself first, put that 10% in, and then here's the next thing. What will make you a saver is the automation of retirement plans. So I love the Roomba. That is my favorite visualization of this Roomba just sucking up money, because that's what it does. So if you've ever had that experience of saying like, oh, I'm going to start saving, you open up the savings account and you're like, on the 5th of every single month, I'm going to put this much, I'm going to transfer this much money into that account. And maybe you do it the first 2 months, but by the third, you might be withdrawing the money and you kind of abandon the whole plan. And then you basically rob the entire account. Like I've done that so many times in the past. And the problem with that is that we cannot rely on our brain being inspired to save, to carry us on as savers. It just doesn't work. It's been studied a million times. There's nothing wrong with your brain. It's just that you're going to have competing priorities all the time in your life. And so maybe something else is more important at that time. That is why you have to take this next critical step. You have to automate the savings. Now, if you're putting 10% in your retirement plan, that's done for you. That's how people will wake up, decades later and having forgotten that they were saving, because that retirement plan is automatically saving and investing on their behalf, and they never even have to think about it. And that's how, I can meet with I run retirement plans. That's how I can meet with someone who is convinced they're never going to be able to retire. I can pull up their retirement account and that they have never even logged into, and see they might have enough retirements for 2 retirements. 2. They can, that moment, walk away and never have to work another day in their life. That is what is happening with automation. Do not skip this step. Now, you don't have to skip this step if you're doing this into a retirement plan, but let's be real. In the state of Arkansas, we know that half of employed workers do not have access to a retirement plan. Folks, we got to fix this. We are going to fix this one day. But until it's fixed, if you're one of those people, let's say you're a freelancer, let's say you work for a small company, a hair salon, a place that just doesn't have a retirement plan, did you know that you're 12 times more likely to save for retirement if you do have access to one? You cannot let yourself be in that statistic. You need to make your own retirement plan, and it's never been easier. It has never been easier to start your own. You can open up your own IRA, individual retirement account. If you're not making very much money, consider opening up a Roth IRA, where you basically get to say to the government, man, I don't make very much money. I don't need an immediate tax deduction on these savings. Tell you what, I'm just going to put this money in with no tax deduction. But as I get to grow this money in the stock and the bond markets over time, when I go to take out that money, I'll never pay taxes on it. That's what a Roth IRA is. It's incredible, folks. So I really believe you start one at Fidelity, at Schwab, at Vanguard. Call them up. Say, I'd like to open up a Roth IRA and invest in something simple like a target date retirement fund. They will help you do this. It has never been easier to be an individual investor setting up your own IRA. So let's say that you have a lot of credit card debt. Let's say that you have a lot of student loan debt. What if you paid yourself first into paying those down? And then maybe by the time those are paid off, you'll have a job that has an IRA, that has a 401k, or you'll be past the waiting period to join your company's 401k. But you'll be in the habit of saving. Do you have an emergency fund? What if you say, hey, for the next 6 months or 2 years, I'm going to put $500 a month into this account, which is 10% of my pay, or $400, which is 10% of my pay, whatever it is, every single month. Put that amount, auto transfer it into a savings account that you will not touch unless you have an emergency. And then once that's built and you have your $5,000 or whatever the amount is that you're trying to get to, then you can open up your IRA or start saving into your company's 401k plan if you have one at that point, knowing that you have this really important emergency fund there waiting for you. Okay, so this is the moment though. And I just want you to know, if you find me on social media or if you email me and you show me a screenshot of this moment in your life, there is nothing that can make me happier, because I know that this is the most life-changing moment you'll ever have when it comes to money. This is what changes lives, and it's usually done quietly. But if you want a cheerleader, I'll be that person. This is what someone sent me after they heard a Save10 talk. And it's an example of what dozens of people have sent me. And this is just a screenshot of this moment where you're putting 10% right there into your savings, into your retirement account. It's as simple as this. But here's the thing, it's not this one moment in time, because it's one moment that's going to start another moment every single month where 10% of your paycheck is going to go into your own account. And then it's going to be invested in stocks and bonds. And then that account is going to grow over time. And it's going to happen every single month. If you think about it, you might think to yourself, well, that's going to feel a lot. That's going to feel like it's going to be a lot every single month. And if you think about it, is it? Because you could be having far more than that going into your taxes every month. Do you think about that? Do you calculate how much your taxes, how much your paycheck is going to pay your federal and state income taxes or your Social Security and Medicare taxes? No. Do you think about every single month when you get your paycheck, how much went into your health insurance premium? No, probably not. Because see, you adapt to paying these other people, paying these other organizations. You adapt. What if you could adapt to paying yourself first, paying yourself before you pay all those folks first? What if you could adapt to that? I would say that's pretty amazing adaptation, to pay yourself first before you pay anybody else. So that's what I want you to do. I want you to take this commitment. I want you to take it right now. Here is the QR code. Get your phone, pause the video, get your phone out, hover your camera over this, and take this Save 10 commitment. I promise you, this is going to be one of the most important commitments you make, because you're making it to yourself, but you're making it in concert with so many other women and men, with no men left behind, but with so many other women who are saying, I might be the first woman in the history of my family to do something like this, but I'm going to do this, and I'm going to make sure that the children in my life do this as well. This is an intergenerational, this is a societal commitment to making sure that we can stop working when we are tired, when we are sick, when we want to be able to retire, and most people can't. We are going to be able to do this. And unlike other things, like if you think about fancy cars or fancy houses, we can't all have those, but we can all have this. We can all have the ability to stop working on our own terms one day. That's why this is something that we want to be a collective movement. We all end up better off if we all take this simple move. So you'll see this number is growing. Our goal is to get to over 10,000 women in Arkansas. We are getting there. Actually, as of this recording, we're at 1,100 people. 1,100 folks have taken this. So we hope that you will take this commitment. Now, if you want to follow some of the work that we're doing, you can, I don't post, but we can connect on Instagram at ladiesplaining.money. Join our Facebook group. We have over 6,000 women who are talking about money all day long. In the Save 10 group, we focus on retirement, but we cover everything: student loans, the public service loan forgiveness program with that. We cover, credit card debt and paying that down. We are a massive support group for each other. I have some of my favorite book recommendations here that you can grab if you want some inspirations, and some of my favorite podcasts that I listen to, that if that's how you engage with money, then consider doing one of those podcasts. So I wish you the best. I wish you the best. I know you can do this. I know that you can pay yourself first. I have seen countless people take this on and say, and we kicked this off in 2019, 3 and 4 years later, saying, oh my gosh, I did exactly what you said. I didn't think I could do it. That money is still coming out of my account. I'm still paying myself first 10%. And when I look at that account balance and see, $10,000, $15,000, $20,000, I never would have thought I could save that much. But the best is yet to come. That account is going to look like, 900,000, maybe $1 million. Maybe it's going to be 2 million by the time you go to retire. You can do this. I promise. I wish you the best of luck and happy saving.